All right, hello everyone. Welcome to part 3 of our tour of Windsor's historic Lakeview Cemetery. Again, my name is Catherine Mercer. I'm the Museum Education Coordinator for the Town of Windsor Museums. We started off with two families that decided to come here to Windsor and ended up changing and shaping the trajectory of our town. And here we have a very interesting person indeed, and his name is George Osterhout. Now, if we look at George Osterhout's headstone here, you'll notice something that's actually pretty significant to his life story. He has all this foliage carved here up at the top, so note the foliage. Down at the bottom, it's kind of interesting. He has his birth and death dates, but if you look at those of his wife, so we have George here, who was born in 1858, and he has his wife. Now, you might not be able to see it with the sun, but his wife only has the date of her death, and there is no date of her birth. So maybe she did not know, maybe after she passed away, nobody was sure what it was, and it just didn't end up on there. But thanks to research that we have at the museum, archives and digital collections, we have been able to track down her date of birth, and she was born in 1864. So who in the world are the Osterhouts, and how did they help shape our community here in Windsor? Well, I have a photo here of George Osterhout. So there he is, a very dapper looking gentleman. He was born in 1858 in Pennsylvania, and he was actually a twin. He attended Lafayette College in Pennsylvania, and he actually ended up studying law. But the advisor that he was assigned to had him take some classes in science and botany because his advisor loved science and botany, and George ended up falling in love with it too. So after graduating, we believe that he did practice law for some time until eventually maybe he realized this isn't exactly what I want to do with my life. So he made the decision to come here to Windsor, Colorado, supposedly for his health. We don't have a lot of evidence that George was ever very ill during his life, so it may have just been an excuse to leave Pennsylvania and come out here to Colorado, which then was on the forefront of botany research happening with all new discoveries of flora and fauna being made in our state. So he arrived here in Colorado about a year after Robert Dickey did. He came in 1884, and in 1886, George ended up opening one of the most important businesses that you could have in a growing town on the Colorado frontier, which was a lumber yard, because you needed wood for building your buildings and building your houses. You needed wood for everything. So he opened up what became Windsor's main lumber business, called the Osterhout Lumber Company. And it became very, very large and made him a lot of money. So much money that he now had a lot of time and money to investigate his true love and passion, which was botany. He loved plants. He was very, very interested in plants. He was known for going up to the mountains and up to Rocky Mountain National Park to do collecting trips. And the newspaper talks a lot about this. It also talks about how Osterhout is still perpetually single. And how can this be? Because he's building a beautiful house on Walnut Street, and surely he just needs a wife to come in and take care of it for him. So that everyone is very concerned about poor Mr. Osterhout and his plants living in their house. But thankfully, in 1894, he meets Etta Thomas, who is a school teacher who taught in Windsor schools and also in Greeley schools. And I went back through Ancestry.com and was able to track down her birth date, which was in 1864, because I found her original marriage license to Mr. Osterhout, which stated that she was 30 years old when she got married in 1894. So Osterhout was 36 and she was 30, and they ended up having no children. But they did end up having over 25,000 specimens in their home, thanks to Mr. Osterhout. So I think Mrs. Osterhout must have really loved George to put up with all of that botanical collecting and specimens taking over their house, which was later located at 700 Main Street here in Windsor. So George ended up collecting over 8,000 specimens across the United States, and then eventually acquired that collection of over 25,000. And he ended up collecting one of the best collections of plants from this area, geological specimens from this area in the United States. And he also was known as a very philanthropic member of our community. So because he ended up having no children, he was known to gift money to children in town who needed it. He was a very caring figure. He had a wonderful library at his house and was known for lending out books. Today, if you go to the Clearview Library here in Windsor, they actually still do have some of Osterhout's original library books in their collection because after the Osterhouts passed away, many of his botanical collection ended up at the library because they donated it. So they were very concerned with doing the right thing for the community and helping us to grow into sort of an intellectual community. And Osterhout, as I mentioned, did a lot of collecting trips across the United States and especially here in Colorado. Today there are still at least five modern plants named after him. I have a picture of one of these plants, which is called the Osterhout milk vetch. So if you're ever out hiking here in Colorado and you see that, just know that it was named after George Osterhout, our pioneer botanist from right here in Windsor, Colorado. So as George was collecting his specimens, his wife Etta was very busy as well. So she was one of the founding members of the Windsor Improvement Club, which was a group of women that got together and did different philanthropic actions and had lectures and that sort of thing. So Etta is in this photo. She is the second, let me just make sure I get that right. She's second from right in this photo. So she is in the back row, second from right. So she is standing right here on the stairs. So that is Etta. So she's very busy as well, and they're very busy with improving our community. In 1907, George took on a partner in his lumber business, and Osterhout Lumber Company became Osterhout and Charles, and I think Charles did most of the work while Osterhout was out collecting in the mountains on his fabulous collecting trips. So also, he ended up writing a number of articles about the plants that he discovered. Today, his botanical author abbreviation, which is Oster H, is associated with 237 plant names and historical variations of plants. And he wrote over 44 publications that were published in various scientific plant journals at the time. So he was a very widely respected and known botanist for this area. And he continued to collect plants and help the community until April 2nd, 1937, when he passed away. And after he passed away, he was buried here on April 6th of 1937 at 2 p.m. And we know all of this because he had a very long obituary published in the newspaper talking about his accomplishments. And we do know, interestingly, and this is one of the only instances in Windsor history that we know of this happening, when he was buried on April 6th, every single business in Windsor closed from 2:30 to 3:30 in honor of his burial as his procession left downtown Windsor and came here to the cemetery. So he was so widely respected that there was no business happening in Windsor for that hour in honor of Mr. Osterhout. He was very widely beloved and remembered for his gentle nature and the scholarships that he gave to local youth. So after he passed away, his wife continued to live here until she passed away in 1942. When she passed away, she left all of Osterhout's properties to Jean Yancey, who was her nurse at the time and a member of another local family that lived here in the area. When Osterhout passed away, his estate was valued at $130,000, which adjusted for today's funds, over $2 million. So he did really, really well with his lumber business, and that gave him the freedom that he needed to pursue his true interests, which ended up shaping a lot of our knowledge that still continues to this day with botanical specimens in Colorado, especially up in high altitudes at places like Rocky Mountain National Park. And today, parts of his herbarium or his collection are still at the University of Wyoming, where they're used for teaching and research to this very day. So he truly was a remarkable person who helped to form Windsor's early intellectual community.